Sit! Welcome to the Dynasty Nerds Fantasy Football Podcast, where we discuss Dynasty strategy, rankings, and all things NFL. So get ready to geek out on fantasy football with your host, Rich Dotson.
And welcome to the Dynasty Nerds Fantasy Football Podcast. I'm Rich Dotson. He's Matt O'Hara.
Hey.
He's Garret Price.
How's it going?
It's going pretty good. We're talking sexy Dynasty Fantasy Football here on the Dynasty Nerds Podcast. Drafting players and getting happy.
This is the Dynasty Late Night Hour. Brought to you by Sleeper.
Oh, yeah. Which is where I'm trying to go. This is like one of the latest shows we recorded in a very, very long time. It's 11:05 on a Monday. PM, by the way, for us. So, yeah, kudos to us being the night owls that we are. I can't wait for tomorrow, because tomorrow we had to record a day early because I got to go to another Dave Matthews show with my wife, this time in Cleveland.
It's an annual tradition, or actually more than once a year tradition.
Yeah, usually we go once a year, just once, but this time, he's in Cleveland and ain't getting any younger, so we'll see. Let's just pick up right where we left off, shall we?
We shall.
Pick number 9-1. I am the clock. I had previously taken Christian Kirk. And I am on the clock here. And I took Michael Penix Jr. And I'm really happy with this pick, man. I absolutely love it here in the 9th round. I'm getting a top 10 overall pick in the NFL draft on a quarterback whose tape I loved, with a really good offensive line and 3 really young, talented weapons, all also top 10 picks in Drake London, Bijan Robinson, Kyle Pitts. I already have Kyle Pitts, so it's somewhat of a stack for me as well. So getting Michael Penix here, I as my third quarterback, knowing I can sit here and wait on him to develop, unless, of course, Jaden Daniels doesn't start off the season hot, but I fixed that problem later too. So I went Michael Penix here. Again, just kind of screams value. No matter what here, I feel like with Michael Penix, his ADP has nowhere to go but up. Like every year over the next 3 years, like his ADP should go up over this 9th pick round. So if there's a hole I have to fill, he puts me in a position where, like, if this team makes a serious championship run too and Jaden Daniels pans out, he puts me in a really good position. I could easily go get that running back I'm missing out on for anybody who's not contending. Because by the time, and I say by his values to go up significantly, by the time November hits, his ADP will already be up because he's already 1 year closer to starting. If he's honestly not playing already by then, which is not very unlikely. But again, there's a lot of question marks with Kirk Cousins and his Achilles. We don't know how it's going to pan out. Like same thing like Aaron Rodgers. We don't know how that's going to pan out. Even though he could have reportedly played last year in the playoffs, we don't know how he's going to play NFL football. So I went Michael Penix here. After that, at 9-2, I went David Montgomery, then Jake Ferguson, Evan Ingram, Zamir White, Najee Harris, Aaron Jones, Adonai Mitchell, and then Matt, you're on the clock here at 9-9.
Yeah, so in round 7, I was able to get Trey Benson. I backed him up with an older guy coming out there in the 8th round in Amari Cooper. I was really hoping here that I was going to be able to get my second running back. And unfortunately, I was really eyeballing Zamir White and Najee Harris. One of those two would have made me feel pretty good. It didn't end up happening, so then I kind of pivoted again here. And I decided to dip my toe back in the rookie waters here. And Ricky Pearsall just, he's got a great opportunity. Who knows what's going to happen long term with what's his name there? Gosh, my brain. Not Debo. Thank you, Brandon Ayuk. So who knows what's going to happen with Ayuk long term? I think they were literally talking today, and I haven't heard any reports as to what happened there, the 49ers and Ayuk. So I ended up just grabbing Pearsall. I love the offense, and he's a really good wide receiver. I think he's a great fit for this offense, and I do think this is going to be a marriage made in heaven. It might take a couple of years to materialize, but with guys like George Pickens and Amari Cooper already on my roster and Xavier Legette, I just decided I'm going to swing again here. I know we only start 2 wide receivers, but there are a bunch of flex positions. So why not and build my long-term depth here at the position and go with Ricky Pearsall at 9-9. So at 9-10, it was Tony Pollard, and then 9-11, it was Matthew Stafford, and then Garrett was up at 9-12, and then again at 10-1.
So real quick, I thought that was your best pick, Matt. I really, really liked that pick. When you look at where Xavier Legette, and obviously, you talked about it. You probably took him a little earlier than he would have normally gone. But in my mind, Pearsall and Legette should be going very close to the same spot. 2 first-round players. One's going to a slightly better situation, but one has the earlier chance to be the wide receiver 1. Kind of evens out. So for you to get him over 3 rounds later, I thought was really, really good value. So I thought that was your best pick.
Well, thanks, bud.
Of the draft. Yeah, no problem. So for me, I decided to get my RB3. There was a name on the board that, look, the heart wants what the heart wants, and the heart wants Tyjae Spears. And we were getting close to the point of guys where there are only a few guys left you would ever feel comfortable starting. There's a couple older guys that you could fill in and find, but especially guys that were in the younger range that you would ever feel comfortable starting. Tyjae Spears was one of those last young guys that you could start if something were to happen to Achane or Bijan or a bye week comes up. I felt really good about being able to throw him into the mold. And then, I had 2 wide receivers, and so I took a receiver in round 6, took a receiver in round 8, and now I'm taking a wide receiver in round 10. And I got Chris Godwin, which felt like an amazing value to me. I don't see Godwin and Terry McLaurin much different. And so to get him a full 2 rounds later than Terry McLaurin, I thought was awesome value. So 3 guys that are all kind of right in their prime right now. And for waiting until round 6, 8, and 10 to get my wide receivers, I really actually like that trio of receivers.
And Garrett, this was a guy that I was actually contemplating when I took Amari Cooper in the 8th round. So I think that was a really good pick by you as well for Godwin. Once I picked Cooper, I wanted to get a little bit younger, so that's why I didn't take Godwin on the way back when I took Ricky Pearsall. But if he would have gotten back to me in the 10th round, I may have considered him there as well. So you got him a few picks earlier. I think that was a really nice pick.
Sweet. All right, who's calling it now? Who's doing it?
I'll just go.
Matt's up. Oh yeah, Matt's up.
It's fine. I'm up in there in a couple picks. I'll just go. So at 10-2, Bo Nix went. I was a little bit bummed there. I wouldn't have minded grabbing him as my 3rd guy. So I did get sniped by the zombie there. And then 10-3 is Calvin Ridley, and then I was up again to 10-4. And Marshawn Lloyd was the pick for me. I was really just looking for another young running back, and with the guys that were remaining, it was either a Jalen Warren or Nick Chubb. Those guys, Nick Chubb's a little bit too old and injured. Jalen Warren, who knows what his actual role is going to be here in this new Arthur Smith offense. So I had some question marks around that, and then it was you're looking at guys James Conner, Brian Robinson. So I went Lloyd because off of tape he was one of my favorite running backs this year. So obviously this year will be a little bit murky with Josh Jacobs there, but I really do think they have an out in that contract, and I think this is Lloyd's gig. Maybe not not in 2024, but I think by 2025, if he shows well enough this year, they could end up releasing Josh Jacobs, getting out from underneath that salary cap issue, and this might be his gig going forward. So at 10-5, it did go Jalen Warren and then Nick Chubb at 10-6. At 10-7, it was Christian Watson. 10-8 was Hollywood Brown. 10-9, Blake Corum, another guy I was considering when I took Lloyd. And then 10-10 went James Conner, which to me felt early, but it was a zombie pick. So it is what it is. And then Troy Franklin went 10-11, and then Rich was on for 2 picks.
Yeah, my first pick here is a pick that made me wish I would have got like Najee Harris over Christian Kirk with my last pick. But again, you don't know like how the board's going to play out. And I took Deontay Johnson, and this is obviously my fourth receiver. And like I said, we don't have to start two, but the flex spots. But again, he's the best player I have on my board. A really good route runner, knows how to get open, consistent, a target hog, and only 27 years old, right? Like, so the immediate number one receiver for Bryce Young here in this new Dave Canales offense. So I took Deontay Johnson, happy with that. And coming back, I saw like, hey, man, these running backs are brutal here coming forward, but they're still like, again, not forced in the position. There's still a running back I really liked, and that was Jalen Wright, the Miami Dolphins. There's 4 running backs I really liked in this running back class, and Jalen Wright was one of those 4. So to have an opportunity to get him, knowing that I have to wait just 1 year, because then Mostert's going to be gone after this year. I mean, at least the high odds are, right? Like that he would be gone after this year. And if anything happens to Achane or Mostert, like I have a running back that can immediately step in a high octane offense and produce at a high level. And knowing the Dolphins love him a lot as well, because they gave him a 3rd round pick next year to go up and move and get Jalen Wright. So they actually spent 2 draft picks here on Jalen Wright, and they like him as well. So that made it an easy choice. I know I didn't have to I know Keenan Allen's on the board. I know there's some upside receivers, but after getting Deontay Johnson, I was extremely comfortable with my receiving core, right? Like every one of them is 27 years old or younger, and they could all produce. So I have 4 guys that I'm comfortable with. So I accepted my last running back in Jalen Wright. And after that, Garrett, if you want to take over here at 11-2.
Real quick note that I want to make. I don't understand. Like, I know this is based off ADP, and so this is based off how people are drafting. But the fact that Troy Franklin would ever go above Deontay Johnson is just absolutely baffling to me. And I see people like making this move. A 4th round rookie receiver over a guy that's established and still in his prime, like, makes absolutely no sense to me. But anyway.
I think the one thing, Garrett, too, that kind of sucks is when you do the mock drafts just on Sleeper and just go off ADP, it still has that rookie fever baked into the ADP a little bit too. But I don't mind it because there's all these kind of picks in startup drafts, right? Like that you go, what is that pick? So easily here you could see a team just go, hey, I'm taking rookies for the rest of the way here. Like once you hit okay, once I hit round 11, right around there, I'm getting all the young guys. I got my starting lineup. I'm taking all upside. Hey, Troy Franklin, I love his tape. And Troy Franklin was a popular rookie wide receiver going into this process and getting paired with his quarterback. This is definitely something I could see happen in a startup.
Yeah, for sure.
But still, I'm with you.
I just would never do it.
Yeah,
Keenan Allen goes at 11-2, Brian Robinson 11-3, Jalen Polk at 11-4, Jamison Williams 11-5, then back-to-back tight ends in Goddard and Kmet at 11-8. We have Zach Charbonnet, and then Matt, who did you take at 11-9?
So 11-9, I'm trying to think, how am I going to get a third quarterback on my roster? And is there anyone left that I feel good about? That's young. I don't want an old guy that's not this early anyway. I don't want my third guy to be 1 foot in the grave, Aaron Rodgers or something you know what I mean? So I looked on the board. Will Levis is still staring me dead in the eye with his 501s, tapping his foot. So I grabbed him. I mean, do I love Will Levis? No. But is he a young guy that has a shot, and he's got a brand new offense coming in? He's got a shot to be better than he is right now. Absolutely. So that's I'm taking this purely based off of upside. He's my third guy. If he hits, fantastic. If he stinks, I'm moving on, and I'm drafting another guy next year. This was a dud pick, but for me, it's worth it. The upside there is worth it at this point in the 11th round. So with 11-10, Zach Moss came off the board. 11-11 was Devin Singletary, and then Garrett was on for a couple of picks in a row.
Yeah, so I went and grabbed another wide receiver, took Josh Downs, really liked what I saw out of him as a rookie. So that makes him my 4th wide receiver of the bunch. And then, like I said, I take best player available. So I already had 3 quarterbacks. But you know what? What's a 4th? So Justin Fields is there, and look, I get it. Not guaranteed the starting job, but if you look at a pick in this range that could go from 12th round startup value to top 3 round startup value in just 1 year, he's got to be towards the top of that list. If he ends up winning this job or takes it partway through the season, we know his fantasy upside. Just on running the ball alone, he's been a QB1. He's been a top 6 guy. So I thought for me, the risk was more than worth it. I already have 3 guys that I know that I can count on, I can trust. This one is just, at this point in the draft, you got to look at upside. And man, Justin Fields has crazy upside. So I took him here at 12-1.
Yeah, I like that pick. I was hoping he'd come back to me personally.
Yeah, I think that's a good pick. The Josh Downs pick, can we have a quick, I guess, value check on this guy? I mean, for me, he's probably the 3rd best wide receiver on that team right now. And he's a slot guy he's kind of attached to an unknown quantity there at the quarterback and what this offense is going to look like. I just don't know what to think about him because I think he did show well last year. They went out and used a 2nd round pick on Adonai Mitchell. They locked up Michael Pittman Jr. in the long term. So what do we think about Josh Downs? Because I don't know. I kind of don't know how to feel about him personally.
Yeah, for me, the reason I took him, and look, we know that I'm a huge Adonai Mitchell fan too. I've talked about him a lot on the podcast, how high I was on him and all of that kind of stuff. But for me, it's wide open for who the wide receiver 2 is going to be. Adonai Mitchell has more talent and raw ability, but Josh Downs was playing well in his time last year. So who ends up being the number 2 option in the offense? I really don't know, but they have really no tight end presence right now. So there's no tight end that I really have to worry about. Whereas, other teams, yeah, they might be the wide receiver 2, but they're the 3rd option on the team because of the tight end. I think whoever the wide receiver 3 is truly is the 3rd option in the receiving game. So for me, that's still good enough where I think he could be a very solid, 8 to 10 points per game type of guy with the upside to maybe get a little bit more if he ends up being the wide receiver 2.
Yeah, I probably would have chased more high upside than Josh Downs here. He feels like one of those guys that's kind of safe, like Garrett said, like an 8-point kind of guy, but not like a difference maker. So like this round for me, Matt, like I'm kind of with you. Like I don't dislike Josh Downs at all, but like I would probably want to wait a couple more rounds till I saw that value. Cause at that point, like I'm chasing like the upside of like, Jacoby Myers. I thought at 27 right around there it would be a much better pick. The upside of a Cortland Sutton, and even though I don't love him whatsoever, like even the mild long shot upside of Quentin Johnson, for the Chargers out there, kind of like intrigued me. And some of those receivers that you like their tape on, like the Jalen McMillans, someone on those lines, like hearing some good reports about Javon Baker, Rashid Shaheed. And then the biggest one that I would have probably, like, if I'm chasing upside at receiver who has got good draft capital behind him too, like a Marvin Mims, would have been somebody else like in that range. But again, Josh Downs has been a Garrett guy all the way through the process. So he just got his guy, and he's right. Like if Adonai Mitchell flames out, if something happens with like Adonai Mitchell at all, like it doesn't click, or he's sitting there watching a hot dog guy in the stands, which we know Adonai could do that, then this is a big ADP bump in a striking offense. And the fact that he also wins so differently, right? Playing in the slot, it's going to really change the dynamic on the outside, having 2 big receivers in Pittman and Mitchell. So there is definitely upside with no tight end presence. Like Garrett said, it just depends on how they handle that with Anthony Richardson running the football, having Jonathan Taylor, Anthony Richardson behind a really, really good offensive line. So to me, it seems like one of those, like he's one of those guys, like if you're starting him, like you're starting me, they're like, oh man, I'm really up against it this week. Like
sure
is what it turns into be, but it's kind of like, it is what it is. It's a his guy pick. Hey, Nerd Herd, this is Rich Dotson. I've got some exciting news for you. Underdog Fantasy is back with their annual Best Ball Mania tournament. And this year, it's bigger and better than ever with a whopping $15 million prize pool. Best Ball Mania 5 is the ultimate fantasy football competition where you draft your team and then sit back and relax. No trades, no waivers, just your best lineup every week automatically set by Underdog. For just $25, you can enter for a shot at the grand prize of $1.5 million. Plus, there are tons of other prizes throughout the season, including $500,000 for the top regular season performer. And guess what? We've got a special offer just for our listeners. Use the promo code NERDS when you sign up, and Underdog will match your first deposit 100% up to $100. That's right. Double your money to get more entries and more chances to win. Don't miss out. Drafts are happening now, and entries close before the first game of the season. Head over to UnderdogFantasy.com or download the Underdog app, sign up with the promo code NERDS, and start your journey to fantasy football glory today. Must be 18 plus, 19 plus in Alabama and Nebraska, 21 plus in Massachusetts and Arizona, and present in the state where Underdog Fantasy operates. The terms do apply. Concerned with your play, call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit www.ncpgambling.org. In Arizona, call 1-800-NEXT-STEP. In New York, call 1-877-8-HOPE-NY. In Tennessee, call 1-800-889-9789.
Totally.
Yep.
All right. So at 12-2, it was Austin Eckler. 12-3, Dalton Schultz. At 12-4, I was up again, and I went Ben Sinnott. Obviously, tight end premium. And I wasn't honestly meaning to do this, but so far I've taken Bowers, Xavier Legette, Benson, Pearsall, Lloyd, and now Sinnott. I'm already up to 6 rookies, and we're only through 12 rounds. They were just falling to me, I promise. And I don't know. Maybe I still have some rookie fever baked into me as well. I don't know, but at
I don't
12,
think so. I think you're just taking the best high upside guys here. Like, I mean, definitely this late. Like, you're chasing some like Garrett said. Like, how do I outproduce ADP at this point?
Right.
Because it's worth the chase. Because even if you swing and miss, like, oh no, I missed on my 12th round pick. Like, I got another upside guy right behind him. I'm taking next round. So like, big deal. You know what I mean? Like, you're trying to outproduce ADP at this point. Like we've already got past the stage of like, okay, I don't want to mess this pick up. Like at this point, you're like, I'll mess this pick up. You know what I mean? Like, and there's no better swing at a ball than the unknown ball. Like, is that ball juiced? I don't know. Like, can
you'll
I hit
find
it on
out.
the fence? I don't know.
Yeah,
we're gonna find out. And he has good draft capital, high upside, very athletic. Like, yeah, why not take some bets here?
Second tight end off the board this year in the NFL draft. So and he's got a clear path to get that job. You know, I mean, it's Ertz is there, but we all know that Ertz every time Ertz goes to a new team, he does relatively well to begin with, and then it seems like he's just a little bit too old, a little bit too slow, a little bit too injured, and they moved on. They turned the page.
Yeah, it becomes a no-names sleeper picker.
Exactly. So at 12-5, it was Kendre Miller. 12-6, Pat Freiermuth. 12-7, Jahan Dotson. 12-8, Chase Brown. Sorry, he's got a twin brother, and I don't know why. I always try to call him by his twin brother's name, which is I think Corey or Cody or something. I don't know. Anyway,
I don't know. I always call him his twin brother's name. What's his name?
The one I also don't know.
No, I clearly know
that
him.
was great.
I clearly know him very well.
I remember this. I remember like as clear as day. It was a Tuesday, or was it a Wednesday?
12. I don't know what number we're on. 12-9. It was Jerry Jeudy. 12-10, Chuba Hubbard, and 12-11, Raheem Mostert, and then Rich was up for a couple picks.
Yeah, so there's not many times where like I curse a zombie pick or a computer pick. But like I was really upset with that Raheem Mostert pick there by the zombies. So I'd taken Jalen Wright, and the whole time I was thinking, I was like, yeah, I'll just take Jalen Wright here, and I'll get Raheem Mostert when he comes back. Nobody's taking Raheem Mostert. Like he's
obvious.
Yeah, nobody's gonna take him. And I'm gonna have two pretty at least I'll have one for sure. Like we don't know about Jonathan Brooks, but like I'll have one really good running back for this season. It takes the burn off of figuring out. So Raheem Mostert goes, and I'm like, all right, well, I guess I'm figuring out running back at a later date because I don't want anybody else really after this. That was in the story. I was like, maybe I can get Eckler. He didn't come Mostert. And then Gus Edwards was there, and I was like, maybe I take Gus Edwards, but I was like, maybe not. And I took Luke Musgrave. For every reason you said you took Ben Sinnett is the exact reason I took Luke Musgrave. I wish we could flip-flop because you have Jordan Love and I have Jane Daniels. Like, I mean, if this was a real league, I would immediately, because we took them the same round, send you a trade offer and be like, dude, let's just swap. Like, we both have upside here. Let's get to stack with our quarterbacks. But I took Luke Musgrave, athletic tight end, tons of upside. We don't know how this offense is going to shake out. We don't know if Christian Watson's hamstring is fully healed, and Musgrave has a ton of upside in this upside. Definitely Tucker Kraft with that torn pec and being out for some time really helps me feel a little bit more confident in those Musgrave shares. And then here at the start of the 13th round, I took Daniel Jones. Again, I'm willing to swing at that pitch and hit this ball. Daniel Jones is a quarterback that I think still is a talented quarterback. Is he the best quarterback? Absolutely not. But athletic, offers some upside, still doesn't have a good offensive line, so he's going to be on the move. Still doesn't have a ton of weapons. Way better now with Malik Neighbors and Darius Slayton there. But a quarterback's still going to offer some rushing upside and still only 27 years old. And what I'm hoping here is he just puts it together enough for the Giants where they don't have a high draft pick in this NFL draft and they're already paying him money and he sticks around. That was it. Simple as that. He's a quarterback on the board, 27 years old, has a somewhat long-term deal they can get out of after this year. But I was like, okay, Gus Edwards or Daniel Jones. If I took Gus Edwards, I'm just taking a player for need and need only. And I'm not taking the highest player ranked I have on my board, and that was Daniel Jones. After that, it went Garrett.
Yep. After that, we had Romeo Doubs, Gus Edwards at 13-3, Zeke Elliott, DeAndre Hopkins at 13-5, 13-6. We had Jerome Ford. Then we had Roman Wilson at 13-7, Jacoby Myers at 13-8, and then Matt, it's your pick, my friend.
So at 13-9, I mean, I'm really just hoping that this guy pans out. I liked some of his tape. I didn't see a ton of upside with him. The landing spot is okay. I ended up going Ray Davis here, running back for the Buffalo Bills. And, you know, he's a little bit of an unknown, obviously, in the fact that he's a rookie and who knows how he's going to translate. But I did feel like he was fitting my profile of young upside rookie running backs that, you know, I didn't get any guys early that are impact guys. Do I think Ray Davis is going to be an impact guy? No. Do I think he could be like a Zach Moss type of guy? Yeah, probably. That's about it. And, you know, Buffalo Bills, they drafted Zach Moss. They, for some reason, want a guy like this. They never seem to actually use a guy like this. So we'll see if he ever turns into anything. It wasn't until Zach Moss got out of there and, and went to other teams is when he started being used. So we'll see if Ray Davis has any short-term viability or if he's going to also have to wait to get off of this team in order to, you know, actually get kind of used between the tackles and he's a volume guy. He's probably going to need some volume. So we'll see.
I hope for his case he does because he's already going to be like 25 when the year starts. So hopefully he gets used by this team because he doesn't have many teams left afterward.
I knew he was old. I couldn't remember if he was 23
I know he's at
or
least
20.
24 now.
Okay.
I don't know
24.
when. Yeah, I don't know when he turns 25. I'll have to look.
Well, regardless,
fourth round pick too. You gotta remember that too. Like it wasn't like he was some late draft pick. They took him in the fourth round. Hey, Dynasty nerds, it's time to take your Dynasty game to the next level with FFPC's Dynasty Startup Leagues. Whether you're a seasoned pro or just getting started, FFPC has a league for you with entry fees ranging from $100 up to $5,000. Choose from a variety of formats, including Superflex, Best Ball Superflex, Triflex, 1QB, and Standard. With weekly lineups, waivers, trades, head-to-head matchups, and playoffs, FFPC's fully managed leagues provide the ultimate dynasty experience. Most importantly, the leagues are here to stay. FFPC has never had a Dynasty league fold. They manage the entire commissioner experience from buy-in management to fulfilling your orphans. FFPC is perfect place to expand your Dynasty league portfolio. And here's the best part. As a Dynasty Nerds listener, you can get $25 off any entry fee as a new member when you use the promo code NERDS. Head over to myffpc.com now to draft your team, manage your roster, and dominate your league with FFPC. That's myffpc.com. Promo code NERDS for $25 off any entry fee for new members. FFPC, where Dynasty dreams become a reality.
So they hopefully they have a plan for him and they actually use it. We'll see. But at 13-10, it was Cortland Sutton. 13-11, Quentin Johnson. And then Garrett, you were up.
Yeah, so you guys talked about wanting to get an upside player at wide receiver, and I think this guy fits the bill to a T. This feels like the wide receiver version of Josh Jacobs and Zamir White a few years ago, where Josh Jacobs, stud player, but a little bit of an uncertain future. They use 3rd, 4th round pick on a guy in Zamir White. I really liked Zamir White's tape, so I had a lot of Zamir White, even though I had a lot of Josh Jacobs. Handcuffed for a little while, and then hopefully I have 2 starting running backs in the future, which I do now have. This feels like the wide receiver version of this. I took Jermaine Burton here. Do I already have T. Higgins? Yep, already have T. Higgins on this team. What do I think I'm going to have? I think Jermaine Burton's going to learn. He's going to play probably a little bit out of the slot this year, but chances are T. Higgins is going to be gone, and then I'm going to have 2 really good wide receivers. So I love Jermaine Burton here. I would have been willing to take him earlier, but I was just playing the ADP game, knowing that I would be able to get him here. And for me, this is like, I like him more than Josh Downs, but just ADP wise, I knew that I could wait 2 rounds and still get Jermaine Burton. So felt pretty good about that pick. And then once again, ADP, I took Aaron Rodgers. Yes, is that my 5th quarterback? Yes, it is. But
You dirty
best player on the
sons of-
board? Yep. And look, there will be a team crying because their starting quarterback got hurt in training camp or in preseason or whatever, and they're going to say, man, what team has a lot of quarterbacks? And they'll come calling, and I'll say, ooh, I took him in the 14th round, but I want about 8th, 9th round prices for a guy like Aaron Rodgers, and then you instantly get that nice little bump.
Yeah, probably a better pick for me over Daniel Jones is taking Aaron Rodgers just to trade for a running back at some point and just took him just for trade value.
Sure, I can see that.
In teams 5s and team 7 on this board, if everyone's watching, they only have 2 quarterbacks, and they're the most likely. If an injury happens there, you can easily offload one of these guys. So that's a nice pick there. And then obviously the next pick at 14-12, Jalen Sanders. And Jadavian Sanders. I'm sorry. And then Isaiah Likely at 14-3. And then I was up at 14-4, and I went Malachi Corley. 3rd round draft pick of the Jets. They like this guy enough to move up in the draft there and snag him. And obviously, he's gonna be paired with Aaron Rodgers. We were just talking about him. Hopefully for the next couple seasons, we'll see how this one goes, but it sounds like he's got maybe a longer view of his career than maybe I had initially thought. I figured he was going to return from this Achilles injury and just kind of be done this year, but it sounds like he might have a couple of years left in him when we're talking Aaron Rodgers. So hopefully by then Corley will have kind of established himself on this team. Mike Williams is also on this team, but it's basically Garrett Wilson, Mike Williams, Malachi Corley. Am I missing anybody there? I feel like that's kind of the top 3 there,
really.
with Corley, easily being the slot guy and possibly moving into a larger role when Mike Williams moves on. And from there, 14-5, it was Khalil Shakir. 14-6, it was Dontavian Wicks. Dontavian Wicks, and then Keaton Mitchell at 14-7, J.K. Dobbins at 14-8. I'm going to butcher this guy's name. Kimani Vidal. Thank you very much at 14.9. Gosh, this is a tough one. Chig Okonkwo. Okay, at 14.10, and good old Roshan Johnson. I can pronounce that one just fine at 14.11. And then Rich, you're up.
Rich, Rich, why don't you talk about your 14th pick, and then maybe just read off the rest of the guys that you took for the rest of the draft. We won't worry about the
100%.
The other picks.
Yep.
We'll just read our teams.
That works for me 100%. And I'll say here at 14 and 15, it just goes to show you can still get really excited about your picks. I take two really high upside guys. First one, Rashid Shaheed. It didn't matter what order I took these guys in because I was taking them both no matter what. But I guess Shaheed at 25 really popped a couple times last year and showed some upside there. So to get him on my roster. And then the guy I'm most excited about getting here is Marvin Mims. And I probably should have taken this guy earlier. It's somebody who I liked his tape coming out. And remember, like, this is his second year on a team that just lost Jerry Jeudy, doesn't have a ton of receivers. They bring in a quarterback that's got a big arm. And Marvin Mims is only 22 years old. And remember, last year, the Denver Broncos traded up in the second round to select Marvin Mims. And they didn't have a lot of draft capital after that Russell Wilson move. And Sean Payton went out there and got Mims. So a lot of upside here as well as a nice deep threat. So getting Shaheed, and Marvin Mims, I get two young receivers to offer upside. Again, if they hit, offer me good trade bait or just some good young players in my roster. Hey guys, let me tell you about our friends at Sleeper. Guess what? Our app the mini is live on Sleeper right now. The Dynasty GM, pretty. You can use the analyzer, you can use the trade calculator, and my favorite thing is the inbox, right? Where all your trades from all your Sleeper leagues are right there. You can actually push trades through the actual Sleeper app. And right now, we couldn't be more excited to be partners with them. And right now, if you don't know, they are doing DFS. And I know how many people that play Dynasty play DFS as well. And right now, there's not a better place to play DFS than Sleeper. They're offering up to 100 times your entry, the highest payout in the whole DFS market right now. You can track your fantasy players and your sleeper picks in real time. All you got to do is choose 2 to 8 of your favorite players from pregame, live in-game, or even across different sports. Pick more or less than the predicted stats, and only on Sleeper you can get up to 100 times your payout. You can share with your friends and get rewarded together. Make sure you use that promo code NERD so our friends know that friends sent them their way. And get your deposit match and have a good time. You have all your DFS, all of your fantasy leagues, and now even a Dynasty GM in one spot. It is fully operational inside Sleeper right now. And then when you're a Nerd Herd member, you get that full access to that. And remember, you also want to download the Dynasty Nerds app because they're both in there. Check it out. Check our friend Sleeper. Check out the DFS. Use that promo code NERDS.
Get your whole estate.
My next picks in the 16th and 17th round, I took 2 premium positions, Hunter Henry and Greg Dulcich. Henry, we don't know how it's going to pan out there for Drake May and New England, but the number 1 receiver position is wide open, and they still have Hunter Henry there and re-signed him. And then Greg Dulcich, again, another Denver player that kind of popped real early in his first couple games there in Denver and looked really, really good early on for the Broncos. Then hurt a hamstring and just kind of disappeared and fell off the map. But an upside position at a premium position. And my 18th pick, I took Dylan Lobb. He's a rookie running back in Las Vegas and kind of fits really nice with Zamir White, right? Like if Zamir White can't come out and be that pass catcher running back, that's really where Dylan Lobb thrives, is his pass catching abilities. So if somehow you can be the number 2 to Zamir White and coming on passing downs and being a third down back, that's a player I could slide into my flex or slide in my number 2 role if I have a really strong team around him, like I said earlier, Jane Daniels, Josh Daniels. After that, I took Elijah Moore, receiver. Still, we feel like we've been talking about Elijah Moore forever. He's only 24 years old. Almost guaranteed to probably be his last year in Cleveland. So he should get a fresh start, his third fresh start on another team. And he should only be 25 years old when that happens. Still a very good route runner. Is the upside there? Probably not, but he's one of those guys that will live on an NFL roster, kind of like a Curtis Samuel for a very long time. And maybe he'll surprise us a couple of years here and there and put up like mid-range to low-end wide receiver 2 numbers sporadically. And then my last pick was Kobe Parkinson. My favorite last pick in any startup I would do, because he's just going to fall by the wayside for not doing much. But only 25 years old, big tight end, showed that he can be a pass catching tight end, going to a Rams offense that needs offensive weapons for Matt Stafford. And we know that Sean McVay does like to utilize the tight end when he has one. So signing there with the Rams, he signed a 3-year, $22.5 million contract. So he should be a part of this offense. And in the 20th round, again, I'm chasing these upside positions. I went multiple tight ends here and a couple receivers and running back, but I really kind of hammered 3 out of my last 5 picks here were tight ends. And I like to, again, stack that position, right? Like I could easily, you talked about this on the Talking Dynasty show, Garrett. Like, it's easy to find those. What are you going to do with your 7th wide receiver, your 8th wide receiver, or your 7th running back who you're hoping to get hurt? Like, you want those running backs or you want premium positions, right? That's what you're chasing here. And everybody else can kind of go. I know it took Elijah Moore, but at this point, he was just the best player on my board in youth. So that's how I finished off my team. If Matt, you want to pick up and give us the rest of your team.
Yeah, so obviously, I talked about the Corley pick in the 14th round. In the 15th round, I kind of did a Garrett here, and I went and got Mike Williams. So I talked about how Corley and Williams kind of would fit into the depth chart there a little bit during that Corley pick. I just went ahead and got him. I mean, Mike Williams is my dude anyway, and he was sitting there floating around for too long for my liking. So you know what? Snag him. Maybe he's the guy. Maybe Corley's the guy. We'll see kind of how that flushes out. And obviously, any sort of Aaron Rodgers led offense, the second wide receiver option is going to be viable for fantasy football. So I basically locked up a wide receiver 3 / maybe wide receiver 2 type of guy. I don't know which one it's going to be, but I locked him up by getting both those guys. And then in the 16th round, I went Jalen McMillan, just a 3rd round pick out of Washington that really is he's got a ton of upside. He's getting a lot of good hype already in training camp. And is it going to take him some time? Yeah, but could it be shorter than we think? He might be a guy that's able to start on the outside this year. It's going to be basically between him and Trey Palmer, with Godwin getting slid inside to the slot for the majority of the time. So I think he's a guy that's more pro ready than a lot of other 3rd round draft picks would normally be. So he could surprise some people this year and get on the field. And the 17th round, I went to Mario Douglas, led the team last year in receiving there in New England, and kind of splashed as a young rookie. So I mean, who knows? This whole offense is revamped and new, basically from the ground up. I mean, from the coordinators being brought in to the quarterbacks throwing them the ball to the pieces kind of all over the place. So we'll see where the dust settles and Demario Douglas kind of ends up falling. But all reports are good so far in the offseason for Demario Douglas. Sounds like he's kind of acclimating himself nicely to the new scheme. So I thought that's a nice upside pick in the 17th round. And then in the 18th round, I went Aiden O'Connell. I mean, right now he is in neck and neck with Gardner Minshew for this starting position with the Las Vegas Raiders. And the last report that I read was he was slightly ahead. I mean, this thing's probably going to ping pong back and forth all throughout camp, and I don't know where it's going to end up. But if he's the guy, and I just got a starting quarterback in the 18th round, that's huge. Most of the guys that have going right around there, like the one pick before Spencer Rattler went. I know that's a zombie pick, but it's getting pulled right off of ADP. So I think that was a nice value there in the 18th round. And then in the 19th round, Eric All, tight end for the Cincinnati Bengals. I loved his tape. I thought he was a really good tight end prospect. It was just the injury issues that were kind of slowing him down. So we'll see if we can get all that straightened out in the 19th round. Why the heck not? It's a premium position, and he's a young player. Let's give it a shot, right? And in the 20th round, I went DJ Chark. I mean, is there a more wide open depth chart than the wide receiver depth chart for the Las Vegas Chargers? I mean, it's Ladd McConkey and Quentin Johnston and who else? You know what I mean? Like good old 400-yard Josh Palmer. And if DJ Chark has anything left in his tank, I think he can easily beat out Quentin Johnston if that's going to be a fair fight anyway. So there could be a scenario where it's Lad McConkey, Quinton Johnston, and DJ Chark, and Lad's lining up in the slot, and those two guys are on the outside in my eyes. So who knows? Maybe I just got a guy that has got some wide receiver 3 upside with the very last pick in my draft in the 20th round.
All right, and then wrapping up my draft, Wan'Dale Robinson. I got him in the 15th round, former second-round pick. He's been decent when he's been healthy, but he's been banged up a little bit over the past 2 years. We'll see how he fits with Malik Neighbors, but wanted to get one more wide receiver on this team with some upside. I thought he had it. Then I really like to hit the running back position hard at the end of the draft. Loved getting a lot of backups just in case, because Rich alluded to it earlier, something I've been talking about. You know when to play these guys. You know if you're able to play them or not. It's really tough to know when to play your 7th, 8th wide receiver. So I got Tyrone Tracy at 16-1. Some good buzz out of camp so far at his pass catching ability. Somebody that I could see really just absolutely soaring past their ADP if something were to happen this year and he were to take over that job. Now all of a sudden it's a guy that we're taking in the 7th round, 8th round, and just a huge ADP jump in value for a Tyrone Tracy. Rasheen Ali, a guy that I like quite a bit. Right now he's in Baltimore. Derrick Henry, a guy that we don't know how much longer he's going to be playing for. I liked his tape, so Rasheen Ali there. Theo Johnson at 18-1. I believe Daniel Bellinger is going to be the starting tight end for the New York Giants, but if not, it's going to be this guy. And he was a freak athlete, and getting a guy at a premium position there that could end up being the starter, could end up being really, really good value. Trey Palmer, game breaker. We saw some really big plays out of him at the end of last year. And then Eric Gray, just another New York Giants running back. Just in case Tracy's not the guy, then maybe Gray is, and I wanted to double up there.
All right, that's it. Mock draft is over. Let us know whose team came away the best of the 3. The link's in the show. Obviously, it's not Garrett's because his receiving core is real weak. So
it's just as good as yours.
Who do you like, me or Matt? Who do you, AJ Brown alone's better than your entire receiving core, buddy. Come on.
Let's look at your running back room. Jonathan Brooks, Jalen Wright, and Dylan Laube versus Bijan Robinson, Devon Achane, and Tajay Spears.
I'm gonna figure it out.
I'll rest my case. And I have 5 quarterbacks to get another receiver. I'll be fine.
I've got 4, bro. I've got 4.
That's
3.5. I've got 3.5, bro. I got 3.5. So,
sounds like a lot of justifying your bad picks. I mean, I was just quiet during all that. I don't know if you guys noticed.
All right, Matt's got the best team.
Not a lot to say. Just my team stands alone by itself. No need to prop it up with words.
Correct. All right. See you next week, boys.
Bye. Adios.